Welcome to The Explainer. So, let's be real. If you've ever felt like you're working your absolute tail off, but still somehow barely getting ahead, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're breaking down a highly specific, totally mathematical blueprint designed to help anyone, and I mean anyone, escape that exhausting paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. The system is literally rigged to keep you spending, but by shifting your mindset and following this precise framework, you can completely change your financial trajectory. So grab your notebook, lock in, and let's decode how to actually build some lasting wealth.
Okay, let's dive right into this data because it completely shatters how we're taught to view success. Look at the world's richest people. They basically fall into a few distinct groups. A massive 75% are entrepreneurs, 15% are investors, 7% inherited their wealth, and 3% are athletes or artists. But look closely at that last number, 0%. Literally 0% of the world's wealthiest people got there just by earning a salary as an employee. No way, right? Well, to manage your money like the top 1%, we've got to look at what those other groups actually have in common.
And it all boils down to one huge philosophical shift: owning versus being owned. Entrepreneurs own businesses, investors own assets, artists own rare, highly valued skills. The harsh reality is, if you don't own something of value, you are what's owned. It's a tough pill to swallow, I know, but our modern financial system is brilliantly, almost ruthlessly designed to keep us rich for a week on payday and completely skint by the end of the month. You pay for your food, your shelter, your water, and then you just sit around waiting for the next paycheck with this total illusion of freedom. To break free, you absolutely must start acquiring things that actually put money back into your pocket.
To get you out of that cycle, we're using a step-by-step framework called the 25-15-50-10 rule. We're dividing your income into 4 automated buckets: 25% for growth, 15% for stability, 50% for essentials, and 10% for rewards. This specific breakdown lets anyone manage their money like a multimillionaire, no matter what you're earning right now.
All right, let's start with pillar number 1, 25% growth, or building the engine.
This first 25% goes straight into assets that work tirelessly for you in the background. Now, we aren't talking about self-improvement or meditation here. We are talking about cold, hard financial growth. And the absolute secret to this step, it isn't having a massive 6-figure salary. Nope, it's starting as early as humanly possible. Seriously, time is a far more powerful wealth-building tool than a high paycheck could ever be.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why. Let's look at a quick comparison between Billy and Phil. Billy started investing $200 a month at age 20. Phil waited until he was 30, but tried to play catch-up by investing $300 a month. When they both hit age 60, Phil had actually contributed $12,000 more out of his own pocket than Billy did. But, assuming an average annual return of 10%, Billy ends up with a staggering $1.26 million, while Phil sits at $678,000. Billy netted nearly $600,000 more simply because he gave compound growth an extra 10 years to work its magic. Mind-blowing, right?
So how do you actually do this? Well, the practical how-to involves automating your investments into tax-advantaged accounts. Think an ISA in the UK or a Roth IRA in the US, basically places where your money grows tax-free. Inside those accounts, you can build a super simple, reliable 3-fund portfolio. You don't need to stress over picking the next Tesla. Instead, you just allocate your 25% across a US stock index fund, an international stock index fund, and a bond fund. This gives you the perfect balance of broad market growth and stability, and you can simply tweak the ratio of stocks to bonds based on your age. Easy.
Moving right along to pillar number 2, 15% stability, otherwise known as the safety net.
Okay, so what happens when life inevitably throws a wrench in your plans? Because while investing for growth is fantastic, you absolutely must protect that progress from life's unexpected emergencies. If you don't, you'll be forced to sell off those investments at the worst possible time. This means dedicating 15% of your income to a stability fund. To calculate your target number for this, take your essential monthly baseline, meaning strict necessities only like rent, groceries, and basic utilities, and multiply it by 5. That 5-month buffer is exactly what makes you bulletproof against sudden shocks. This quote really hits the nail on the head. Most people don't have a money problem, they have a stability problem. Picture this. Imagine being 18, taking out a loan to buy a cool little VW Golf with 0 savings. A classic teenage financial blunder, right? Well, 3 months later, the engine completely blows up. With 0 safety net and a job on the line if the car isn't fixed, the only option is to borrow even more money. That single blown engine doesn't just break the car, it completely tanks an entire year of finances, piling on tons of debt and immense stress.
So the crucial point here is that where you park this 15% is just as important as having it in the first place. There are 3 absolutely unbreakable rules for your stability fund. First, easy access. You need to be able to withdraw that cash within 24 hours without any penalties. Second, zero risk. Never, ever invest this specific emergency fund into the stock market or crypto. If an emergency hits while the market happens to be down, you lose. And third, it must always earn. Park it in a high-yield savings account, one designed to earn 4 to 5% interest, so inflation doesn't slowly eat away at your safety net.
Now, if saving up a massive 5-month buffer sounds a bit daunting, don't worry. You can stack 3 specific tactics to build it up really fast. First is the paycheck sweep, automating that 15% to move the very second you get paid. Second is the replacement promise. Basically, if you have to dip into the fund for, say, a broken mirror, you promise to top it right back up on the very next payday. And third is the save by spending hack. This means utilizing those roundup apps that turn a $3.60 coffee into a $4 charge, sweeping that extra 40 cents directly into savings. You can also channel any cashback credit card rewards straight into this fund. It builds it up fast without you even feeling the pinch.
Next up is pillar number 3, 50% essentials.
The discipline.
Once your growth and stability are on autopilot, you really need some discipline. Check out this startling fact. Over 60% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Ego-driven spending and lifestyle creep. To combat this, you must ruthlessly lock your lifestyle costs at 50% of your income. This forces you to eliminate what you don't actually need. You've got to hack the 2 largest expenses, housing and transport. That might mean house hacking by splitting rent or refusing to take out a massive car loan for a brand new vehicle. Financing an asset that instantly loses value, a depreciating liability, just for a monthly status hit, yeah, that is a massive wealth killer.
It really all comes down to the stark contrast between looking rich and being rich. Picture 2 people. One is decked out in a designer shirt, wearing an expensive watch, but has exactly $43 in the bank and overdue credit cards. The other is chilling in a basic t-shirt, wearing a cheap watch, but has $1,000 quietly compounding in an investment account. True wealth isn't the flashy car or the designer label. Wealth is what you don't see.
Of course, avoiding those flashy purchases is incredibly hard, which is exactly why the top 1% build mechanical systems instead of relying on pure willpower. Because let's face it, when you're tired or stressed, willpower just vanishes. So you have to ask yourself, is this an impulse purchase? If it is, apply the 7-day rule. Force a mandatory non-negotiable pause of 7 days before buying it. This completely bypasses that immediate dopamine hit. You'll usually find that a week later, the excitement has totally faded and you don't even want the item anymore.
And hey, if you still want it after 7 days, challenge your definition of value by asking, are you buying for the brand or the value? Wealthy people chase quality, not marketing. Think about it like this. If you buy a $60 pair of boots and wear them 100 times, that's just 60 cents per wear. That is amazing value. But if you buy a $200 pair of designer trainers and only wear them twice, that's $100 per wear. Value isn't about being cheap, it's about being highly intentional with what actually improves your life.
And finally, we arrive at pillar number 4, 10% rewards, the joy.
Now, what's really interesting here is that this final pillar contains a surprising twist. A lot of really strict budgeters skip this 10% so they can save faster. But honestly, that's exactly why most financial diets fail. This 10% isn't an excuse to go completely reckless. It's a highly calculated strategy. Think of it like a strategic cheat meal in a really strict fitness regimen. Setting aside this 10% for pure joy makes the other 90% of your financial discipline actually sustainable over the decades it takes to build real wealth.
And the data totally backs this up. 92% of people overspend massively after intensive saving sprints because saving without joy quickly starts to feel like a punishment. Our source material shares this powerful anecdote about an entrepreneur who completely ignored vacations to build their businesses. And the result? It wasn't just faster wealth, it was a nasty diagnosis of stress-induced shingles. Ouch. Taking time off and spending money on joy isn't a waste at all. It is an absolutely critical investment in your physical and mental health to prevent total burnout.
To manage this, you should set up a dedicated Joy Jar bank account. Every single month, 10% of your income automatically flows right in there for guilt-free spending on high-value categories. We're talking vacations, hobbies, experiences, and gifts. And gifts are actually a huge one. It is so easy to get completely locked in on the future that you end up overlooking the present. Exchanging anniversary gifts or paying for amazing shared experiences proves that real connection and relationships matter way more than just accumulating material items.
So when you put the whole shebang together,
25% growing your assets, 15% protecting you from disaster, 50% capping your lifestyle, and 10% rewarding your journey, you literally become unstoppable. The system is designed to keep you trapped, rich for a week and skint by the end of the month, forever chasing this illusion of freedom. But now, you have the actual blueprint to break out. The only question left is, what will you start owning today? Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and we'll